It is 5 and we are live. You know what to do? Settle back and break on through. Hey everybody, that wasn't the real me. Guess I had y'all fooled. Oh, maybe I'm the one getting fooled because ain't nobody here. All right. Here they come. Here you come to hear some great break on through-isms. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Hope it's been a good one for you. My days are starting to run into each other so much I can't tell one day from the next. This feels like Monday. Because Monday never felt like it came to an abrupt end or anything. All right. I see Flint Williams is here. Flint, thank you for the Wino DVD. I have still not had a chance to watch it, believe it or not. Talk about the days running into each other, man. It just feels like, you know, it was a couple days ago I got the DVD and had every intention of watching it, but man, I intend to do a lot of stuff and don't get to do it anymore. I think I've mentioned before, I thought, you know, as I got older, I would get less busy and could coast a little bit, but that has not been the case. I'm busier now than I've ever been in my life, but I like it. I like being busy. But I will get a chance to watch it, and I am so grateful to you for sending it to me. For all of us Americans, let's pick up our break on through brews and drink a toast in memory of the fine young men that were all part of D-Day. Never forget, not just the ones who died, but the very few that made it back. It's because of guys like that that we are able to do a lot of the things we do. All the things we do. I can't help but think that they would be very disappointed and disgusted with the shape this country is in right now if they were able to see it. Because I know I am. I got 2 top 10s today, and this was a fun top 10, and this is the top 10 ideas courtesy of Brad Mullins up around Durham town. And I think y'all are going to enjoy my choices and my discussion on these choices. Jeff Martin, you're going to enjoy this one too. I'm going to tell you, though, when I say my favorite guitarist and bassists, I'm talking about rock and roll. Just rock and roll. There's one exception in bass and a questionable choice in guitar. But I must make something clear that this does not count. I'm talking about the stuff I grew up to that influenced me. To listen to rock and roll and to eventually start playing rock and roll on my own. It does not count the contemporaries who I have had the honor of sharing the stage with or even being in a band with. Because I'm telling you, if this list were for all time, some of those guys and gals would be in these lists. But I'm making it stick to what influenced me. You know, what got me interested in all things rock and roll. Man, I have lined up some future guests. It's all people that've been on here before because I can't seem to get so far of a radius from my home to get people to come on, because we tried to do the join the video gimmick that they have on here. Malcolm and I tried it one day on a test run, and it worked perfect. It was the split screen. I could hear him, he could hear me. But then one day when we do it live on Break On Through, Malcolm comes on and I can't hear him. So, see here. Stephen said he finally got his reel-to-reel player and he's playing his Eat More Possum reel-to-reel. You know, the First Lady and I were talking just yesterday about reel-to-reels. You know, she's 5 years younger than me, so there's a lot of stuff that we remember. But, you know, when she was 5 years old, I was 10, and I was already looking in music stores. I remember when they used to display reel-to-reel tapes in some of the music stores. And I myself have set my eyes on a Kiss Alive reel-to-reel tape. I mean, that thing just looks so cool, you know. The box has the album art on the front. It's there's a few albums that I wouldn't mind having the reel-to-reel of, even though I don't have a way to play them. But that's just something I just don't need to collect right now. I started really thinning down the collection. Trips to the McNeil came in here Sunday and bought a bunch of stuff from me. Damn, Jeff, why are you selling all these? Because, man, you know, it's just, I got so much shit. It's like I don't even know what I got sometime. And there's a lot, you know, I wouldn't say there's a lot more, but there's more shit that I want. And I don't have room for it. So, say, Mark, you got your dad's reel-to-reel. Do you have any albums on reel-to-reel, like official release stuff, not just stuff someone recorded? Do you have any? I would like to hear what you have, if any. You don't see those much. You don't see them much at all. Speaking of music, no, Mark says no, not anymore. Oh, there's my main Clinton Zilla. There's Stefan. But I just want to hip you guys. I know I talk about this all the time, but man, the latest addition to my release list on Long Haired Weirdo Records is right here. Streets Living Theater. Man, I'm telling you, I've been proud of everything that has come on Long Haired Weirdo so far, but I am especially proud to have been able to re-release this one. I redid the cover, and you might say, "Damn, Jeff Clayton, you can't redo someone's record." Me and Scott discussed this before he passed away. Now, this is not what I wanted for the cover. I wanted that for the cover. But me and my graphics man, the infamous Mike Cook from up around New York town, we couldn't make it work because the picture was so light and the type that they had over it already. Man, it would have taken a very long time to make it look right. So we just made a black bar there with the new credits. All right, pretty ingenious, huh? I saw Clinton ask what was the original cover. Man, hold 1 second. I think my 6 copies of the original album are right here. Hold on. This was the original cover. And, you know, back in 1984, when this came out, that might have looked very contemporary, but my problem with it, and I have no problem with the artwork, that's a scene from them building one of the skyscrapers down in Charlotte back then. And my issue with it is that doesn't tell you anything about the band. You know, it was produced by Mitch Easter, so everyone always, you know, automatically thought, oh, well, it must be some of that alternative pop. But it's not. It's real post-punk type Joy Division. And with a very heavy Doors influence, which, you know, Malcolm Tent talked about on Tent Talks Tunes once, that, you know, you don't hear many bands that are that wear a Doors influence on their sleeve, but the Street certainly did, Scott in particular. And so it's on the Big Cartel store right now. There's also made a deal where if you just want to get the whole Scott Savage long-haired weirdo collection, you can get all three of them at one low price, one low shipping price. That's 1 7-inch, 2 full-length CDs. So give that a shot if you dig. The only other artist I've had on Long-Haired Weirdo so far has been Callie Hellstrom, The Wolf Within, which I gotta say is doing really good. Callie, I don't know how well you've been moving through them, but I've been moving through them pretty good. I think maybe at the end of summer, we may be looking at a repress on this. I'm not sure. But that leads me to what I want to talk about in reference to Callie. You know, I've been talking about the GoFundMe that's up for him. You can find it on the ANTiSEEN page, on my page, on Callie's page. The family got hit with a real big curveball, man. They were given 60 days to vacate their premises that they've been at for a little over 5 years. And Callie's disabled, and his wife is the only one bringing in a paycheck. And there's 2 kids in the house, and they don't really have that many people out in Exeter, California way that they can rely on. And so I goaded him into doing the GoFundMe to help his family out, because I know this community we have here is we reach out and help when people need it. And believe me, they need it. I would not even talk about this on there if I thought it was some kind of money grab or something like that. It's not. This is a serious situation. You've all been there, man. You know what it's like to move. Even a plan to move is a pain in the ass. You know, the first month's rent, the last month's rent, the switching your utilities and all that. It's a pain in the ass. Plus moving, you know. And I hate to even think about it, man. I did it 10 years ago. No, I did it 5 or 6 years ago. I don't even know how long I've been in this house. It seems like 2 decades. But, man, if you would, I guess we're about 20 days into their 60 days, and we made some good strides. But, man, we still got a little bit more to go. And if you can help with anything, please do. I appreciate it. Callie and his family will appreciate it as well. But I'm talking about future guests from some of the releases that I got coming up. The very next one is going to be a best of, called A Fine Stew, the best of Self-Made Monsters. And I'm going to have Eddie Ford on here with me live very soon, along with Trip McNeil, because Man, we're looking at, I don't know what to tell you about this. I know it's going to be any day now. Mark Rainey, the head honcho at TKO Records, I talked to him today, and he told me, he's like, I think the standard issue of Ruin Your Groove is going to be able to ship to you, meaning me, today, meaning Tuesday, or tomorrow, Wednesday, which usually takes a week. And then we're going to, when I get the limited edition, then we'll decide when we're going to broadcast the performance of Here to Ruin Your Groove in its entirety. Also, too, I am very happy to make this announcement. Wednesday, that's right, Wednesday. We're going to have to switch it to a Wednesday in July, on July 5th, to be exact. Because my special guest is going to be none other than Mr. Number One, the great George South. And to be honest with you, I'm thinking about seriously getting started that day around 4:30. Because y'all know George, man, he can talk. And I hate cutting him off, man. When he's done my show before, we sign off the show. We sat here in these chairs probably for another 45 minutes. Me just listening to him tell me stories, and I'm just like, damn, I wish we'd have talked about this on the show, you know. So this time, man, I'm just gonna kind of be damned, man. I'm just gonna let him go. We get to hear what all he's got to tell us. He says that July 5th is a anniversary of a big event for him. I'm not going to spoil it, but I'm just going to let him tell you about it. But it's something very important to him, and man, when he's a passionate guy. When he gets behind something he's really behind, he really gets passionate. So I really can't wait to hear this myself, and it's a thrill for me, as much as I know it is for you. Y'all hear Coleman? Oh, by the way, this thing that I had at the beginning of the show, I'm down to the last two. I have two left. After that, they are out of print. Well, damn, Jeff Clayton, you can just get more made, son. No. That guy that was doing those for me became too much of a pain to deal with, so I'm selling the last two, and then that's it. Wow, he is going to town in there, boy. Y'all hear that? Man, he is not happy. The First Lady Omi must be tearing him up. Oh, well. I'll try to get us through this then. I'm going to go ahead and start these top tens. Man, I'm going to start first with bassist. Oh, yeah, he's getting tore up. He must have gotten in trouble doing something. But I'm going to start with number 10. My favorite. Some of my favorite bass players are the ones that influenced me and the ones I grew up listening to. Number 10. Now, Clinton, you know Lemmy's in this list. Come on, but he's not number 10. Number 10 belongs to Mr. Tom Hamilton of Aerosmith. Bootsy ain't rock and roll. This is just rock and roll right here. I didn't get into R&B. I didn't get into soul. I didn't get into, well, I did get into jazz a little bit. But I didn't get into country. This is just the rock bands I listen to. Some of the punk bands. And I'm gonna tell you this. 1, 2, and 3 are the ones that's pretty much. The rest of them are just kind of tossed in there, not really in any kind of order. But number 9 is, you guessed it, Lemmy. The guy that made the bass sound like a meaner, heavier guitar. Number 8. And I say this all the time. She does not get the credit she deserves. She gets credit for stuff that, was good, but it overshadowed a lot of what she was capable of. And I'm talking about Miss Susie Quattro. Yes, Stephen, you guessed it right off the bat. Number 7. I like the style. Like the style he had. But also liked a lot of his runs and songs, man. I think his song, the way he played really made some of the songs of The Clash really pop. And I'm talking about Paul Simon. You all know the famous picture of London Calling, where he smashed that Fender Precision on the stage. Oh man, he is going at it. I may have to break off here soon and go intervene. Poor little fella, man. All right. Well, number 6. Not only one of my favorite bass players, but one of my favorite songwriters, one of my favorite singers, one of my favorite musicians, period. The late, great Phil Lynott of Thin Lizzy. Number 5. Someone who probably influenced everybody on this, looking at this program, even here live or looking at it later this evening or later in the week. I'm sure this guy had an influence on all of us. I'm talking about the one and the only D. Ramone. Now, y'all are talking about some good bass players. Billy Sheehan, Les Claypool, all that stuff. But see, man, that ain't the stuff I listened to. I was already well established into what I liked and what I would, the kind of person I would be. By the time those guys came into my orbit. Number 4, this is the one where y'all say, damn, that ain't rock and roll either. But it kind of is, man. I don't know what to tell you. But he's one of my favorite bass players anyway, no matter what he's playing. But he once played with Wayne Cochran. And man, that's rock and roll and that's soul all rolled up into one. And I'm talking about the also late, great Jaco Pastorius. Number 3. And from 3-2 to 1, I don't think y'all are going to dispute any of these as far as bass players. But number 3, and I think he is a very underrated bass player because people think of him too much as a personality, as being the face of Kiss as well as the spokesman. But man, Gene Simmons, just listen to Kiss Alive, man. Listen to all that. That stuff is he was such a great bass player. But I think it gets, a lot of his other attributes and traits get overshadow that fact. And my number 2 is a guy that I think, and man, he could easily be my number 1. My number 1, I think this guy would make his number 1. Now, number 2 for me is the great Dennis Dunaway from the original Alice Cooper band. You talk about some great funky bass lines, man. It's all there, man. And my number 1 would be from The Who, John Entwistle, the late, great Ox. And I got to get some honorable mentions in there, man, that probably should have been in this list. Mel from Grand Funk Railroad. But see, I'm only doing a top 10. I know I've been the rules. I make the rules. I could do a top 20. But if I did a top 15, Mel, and I can't even, Shocker or whatever his last name is, I can't even pronounce it. I've been a fan of them all my life, and I can't pronounce somebody's last name. But Mel from Grand Funk of Mark Don and Mel fame. Yeah, The Real Me. If you just want an example of what John Entwistle could do, listen to The Real Me. And if you're not convinced then, well, you just can't be convinced. You're just being difficult. I gotta have you guys. I'm gonna hip y'all to what KD After Dark's doing right now, man. He's doing karaoke videos on his page, Adam Wolf or whatever. But man, you guys got to go look at some of this stuff. Oh, and yes, Marvin, Geezer Butler as well. Geezer Butler. He would definitely be in my top 15. But KD's doing like, man, he just put up today, he did 17 by the Sex Pistols. Man, y'all got to give that a listen. And a Captain Beefheart song. I think he did a Public Image song. If you want something to... Well, some of the stuff he does, he plays it straight. And he's got a really good singing voice, which is why he's on the new studio album. Yeah, Zach, John McVie. Definitely in the top 15. But he's on the new studio album, along with Wino, on our cover of Steppenwolf's Who Needs You. The two voices singing together, that's me and KD of KD After Dark fame. Man, I can't wait till y'all hear this good shit. Don't worry, we're going to get KD back on BOT. It's going to happen. All right, we're ready to talk rock guitarist. Like I said, when you do the top 10, man, you got to kind of have to narrow it down, man. It's really tough, especially with guitar players. But I'm going to go ahead and give you my honorable mentions. That if we were doing the 15 or 20, they would have definitely been in there. Man, you can't like rock and roll and not like the combination of Keith Richard, Ronnie Wood, or / Mick Taylor. I could go so far as to say Brian Jones too, but I'm talking about the Mick Taylor, starting from Mick Taylor on, that's when they were just incredible. Incredible, incredible. Pete Townsend in my honorable mentions. More for his style than what he actually played. Same with Eddie Van Halen. Definitely one of the most influential guitar players in rock and roll, I believe. And man, I'm going to say this one, or these two, and you're going to go, damn, why do you say you top 10? But I can't explain it. These are guitar teams. Maybe I should have done a top 10 guitar teams with Joe Perry and Brad Whitford. And Joe Perry gets a lot of the credit for being the guitar hotshot, but Joe Perry tell you the guitar hotshot is really Brad Whitford. Another guitar team, one of the greatest guitar teams ever. Angus and Malcolm Young. You're like, well, damn, if that's your honorable mentions, I can't wait to hear your top 10. Well, here we go with the top 10. Number 10, the Riff Lord himself. Tony Iommi. That's right, from Black Sabbath. How did that guy come up with some of your damn riffs? Good riffs, too. Number 9 for me, and I love a lot of the, when the guys play lead, I don't care much for 255 million notes as quickly as they can be played. I'm not really into that. I like the guitarists that use a lot of bends and the feedback and the sustain. And the king of all that I just discussed is none other than the late, great Jimi Hendrix. And I think he was a great singer. I loved his singing voice. He did not think he was a great singer. Not until he heard himself sing on Electric Ladyland, the song. Then I read many books and articles about that. They said he kind of jumped around the studio all happy going, I can sing. I can really sing. Number 8, from the original Alice Cooper band, Glenn Buxton, the late, great Glenn Buxton. Yeah, Jim, Gary Moore, man. Gary Moore, Brian Robertson, all those guys in Maiden. I'm not Maiden. I just saw Will say Maiden. And Thin Lizzy, they're going to get their place in my list, but they're going to be behind somebody. Number 7. Now, he kind of goes against the whole playing 1,055 billion notes in a short amount of time, but he also uses a lot of the stuff that I like in lead guitar. Plus, I love his rhythm playing too. And I'm talking about the guy who not only is a great guitar player, but could be a great politician too. I'm talking about Ted Nugent. Number 6. And I just changed this just now. Let me tell you who I had for number 6. I had Todd Rundgren because I like Todd Rundgren's lead guitar playing, but I don't think he's in my top 10 because this guy is definitely in my top 10 because I love all of his records. And I think he plays he's definitely from the school of Jimi Hendrix. You know, there's a lot of guys like that. Frank Marino is like that. Frank Marino would be in my top 15 or 20. But in my top 10, man, my number 6 is Robin Trower. Another guy that I don't think gets enough credit. And you guys want to hear some Robin Trower? You go on YouTube or Spotify, listen to the album called Bridge of Sighs. Listen to the whole thing. That's your listening assignment for tonight or for this week. Number 5. Yeah, I didn't really think I would put this guy in my top 10, but then I got to thinking about how not so much his playing, but his attack. And with the early versions of Black Flag that captured the bombastic, when the start is turning up. Great again. Regardless of what you think about him, regardless of what I think about him, that early stuff, I even like the stuff when they started slowing down. I like a lot of his leads on that kind of stuff. It's weird playing. Tom O'Keefe used to play a lot like him until Tom actually learned how to play. And then he never quite sounded like him again on guitar. I've said that to Tom a million times. But number 4, another guy that probably influenced everybody on this list in one way, shape, or form. The one and the only Ace Frehley. Now you can argue, and I know a lot of guys that maybe play guitar would argue this point. You know, they would put his influences above him, like Clapton, Beck, and Page. I know I have a lot of respect for all those guys. I think the spawn of them, which is Ace Frehley and his ilk, it just spoke to me because of the time I was growing up, the time in, you know. Stephen says, nope, 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 nope. But I'm telling you, this is my top 10, Stephen. You want to tell your top 10? You do a break on through with Stephen. Number 3. I was talking about those the Thin Lizzy team. I loved Gary Moore. I loved Brian Robinson. I was not a big fan of John Sykes with Thin Lizzy, but I was a consistent fan, not only for his leads, but the way he played rhythm guitar, of Scott Gorham. That is my number 3. I got the honor to meet the guy one time and he sat and talked to me and Tom O'Keefe for probably an hour and a half. We were just goober fans, man. Just, ooh. Jim Earnhardt, you know what? I consider Johnny Winter blues. Just like I kind of consider Dickie Betts blues and country. You know? But I'm talking about the rock and roll. The shit that got me into rock and roll. My favorite guitar players. Number 2. And this guy could cover the gamut of musical styles if we wanted to get right down to it. But you know that what I described, what I like in lead guitar, he does a lot of the sustain, the controlled feedback. Does his fair share of 45 billion notes too. I'm talking about the late great Frank Zappa. If you want an example of why I would even say that, get the album Zoot Allures. Listen to Zoot Allures. But most importantly, listen to Black Napkins. Black Napkins on the Zoot Allures album. I can't hear that song enough. It's instrumental and I can't hear it enough. Number 1. If it wasn't for this guy, I don't think there would have been an ANTiSEEN. I actually don't think there would have been a Sex Pistols. And you might say, well, damn, why ain't you got some Steve Jones in there? I love Steve Jones. Steve Jones would be in my top 20. My number 1, The General. Johnny Ramone. I am convinced that Johnny Ramone is responsible for the spawn of more bands than any other guitar player in rock and roll. It could be argued that Kiss did their fair share, and they did. But man, the Ramones helped spark the Sex Pistols, which helped spark punk, new wave, everything that came down the pike. Before and after that, the new wave of British heavy metal, all that stuff. Yeah, Dylan, Zappa got a parental advisory on a instrumental album, Jazz from Hell. Amazing. But hell, I think I covered everything I was going to cover today. Man, I just like, I've had a few of you respond to me with your wanting to know my top 10 choices. But I don't want to just keep doing top 10s of stuff because it's just my opinion. Thank you, Jeff Martin. Jeff Martin's one of those guys that I told you if I was listing contemporaries, He'd be in that list, top 10 guitarist. Yes, sir. But, yeah, I want to tell y'all some stories too, man. But I don't, it's like, I don't know what you want to talk about. I don't, what you want to hear about. I'm the only one talking. But, man, just give me some topic ideas. You can't ask me on here at 5:40 to discuss something that's going to take another hour to talk about. Clinton said he wants to hear some early years stories. Well, you know what, Clinton, I'll try to get an early years story going every week. Let's try to pick one that I can think of that. There's the whole way you go when you're telling the history of the band. You leave some kind of stuff out. But, some stuff you gotta kind of have to leave out. Who said they wanted to hear about when ANTiSEEN was in Amsterdam? Oh, man, I've already talked about shitting on the grassy knoll a couple times, I think. Man, I hope that whenever y'all see the Kennedy assassination film, y'all think of that. Not that I think Kennedy getting assassinated was anything to laugh at, but... yeah, Jim, I can talk about getting started in Charlotte. Derek Johns said, what's the most pissed off I ever seen Joe Young? Good gosh, man. Joe used to throw some tantrums. Huh. I'd have to give that some thought. I've when the young brothers would go at each other, that's when the sparks would fly. But if one of us ever had a problem with one of them, even if they were pissed at each other, they'd team up on you like the damn Andersons. Do a sacrifice move. Oh boy, yeah. I guess maybe I should talk about some of my tantrums I've thrown. But see, I like to not think of that. Probably have to get somebody else to talk about. Trip brought up a story recently. I may have already said this on here, but he said that whenever he just joined, we were up practicing and stuff, I would say, oh yeah, Will Tanner can tell you something. But he said something to the effect of working class. Look at that. He said something to the effect of, I got mad at him at practice one time. He was talking about some of these groups like Sepultura, and I just said, I don't hear none of that shit by that group Spatula. I don't. Man, if I can't pronounce something the first time, I give it a name and it sticks. The first lady is constantly amused when I can't remember a name of some place we've eaten or some place we went, and I just like, there was this one, man, I to this day, it closed down already, but it was an Asian Chinese food that had like all these dispensers of all this really nice flavored tea that I really liked, and we used to go there all the time, but I couldn't remember the name of the place, man. They kind of name them all similar. Some kind of imperial emperor or whatever, but I couldn't remember the name, so I just called it Madame Wong's. Let's go to Madame Wong's tonight! She knew exactly what I was talking about, but if you said, well, I'm going to look up this Madame Wong's, it wouldn't be in the phone book. It wouldn't be on, well, it would. It would if you looked it up on Google. It would be a club, probably in Los Angeles, back in the 80s. Well, I had a little Coleman scheduled to make an appearance 5:45, but I don't know, man. Drew just said the farthest I ever thrown a washboard. Well, man, there's only so far you can throw them. But the times that I played, that we were playing the Muddy Roots back when they used to ask us to do that, if I didn't smash it, I remember one of the shows, I threw it into the audience after it would blown up and caught on fire. And there are pictures of that thing going from my hands and just disappearing onto the ground. That may have been the furthest distance I've thrown one. But one time we played Joe's Store up in Lenore, North Carolina, Repo Depot record. We played on the porch. And I caught the thing on fire out in the parking lot. And I took it and I threw it in the air, like high up, as high as I could. Man, I slung that thing, and it was dark. So once it got so high, you kind of couldn't see it. And man, when that thing came back down, it broke into 100 pieces. And I had to put it back together because I had sold it to somebody. Show used! But I did put it back together. I hope they still have it. And I told them, oh yeah, this thing was on fire. It went in the air. It came back down and broke into 100 pieces. So, but here it is. Which, by the way, Jeff, your washboard, which I've got an ingenious idea for it. This ain't the full scale washboards. It's little antique washboards I found, and I sold them recently with the promise of putting some art on them. And Jeff, I have not forgotten you. It's just like I told you, man, about being so damn busy, man. It's like you can't flip the switch of being creative, You can't. Like, Coleman will go to bed tonight around 8. And that's when we have, a little bit of peace and time. But by then, man, I am wore out. I'm already yawning, trying to watch TV, and I'm already like that. Let me see again. It's what time is it now? I'm not even 6 o'clock. Already yawning. But hey, don't forget, if you are within driving or flying distance, on Thursday, June 22nd, we will be in the great city of Atlanta, opening for the one and the only Fear at the Masquerade. I'd like to see a bunch of you there. And if you're like, well, damn, I can't be going to Atlanta. Well, then you know what? You can save up your pennies for September 30th and come to Ground Zero in Spartanburg, South Carolina for the 40-year anniversary show with special guest Joe Buck yourself and sweet Georgia Brown, plus various ANTiSEEN alumni. It's going to be a hell of a night. And I'll tell you what, we are going the distance. I'm not going to explain all that now. But as it gets closer, I'll start giving you way more details of what's happening, what you're going to see, how it's going to look. In the meantime, keep checking the ANTiSEEN page. Keep checking my personal page. And I will give you the information on when Ruin Your Groove goes on sale. And that same night, you will be able to watch the live performance of Here to Ruin Your Groove in its entirety. Wait a minute. I think somebody's coming. We may have a special guest after all. Hey, little guy, come here. Come here. Come up here. Look who's here, everybody. Little Coleman. Coleman, can you say hi? Can you wave hi to everybody? You know what? Coleman's favorite song is Spider-Man by the Ramone. Isn't that right?
What?
Can you say Spider-Man?
Me?
Man?
Yeah.
You like the Ramones little guy?
Yeah.
Say, uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Go.
Do you like Boston? Say, nuh-uh. I'm not going to influence him that way. If the kid likes Boston, he likes Boston. What do you see back there? You see a George South Slam Buddy?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you rather have a Slam Buddy, a Pawpaw?
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay.
Hey, can you look at the people and tell them bye?
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Yeah, Coleman just threw you all a kiss. So, everybody, thanks for coming and hanging out with us. Well, you see all the little hearts? You want them? I can't get those for you. They're on the screen. Okay? Oh. All right, everybody. Take care and thank you. And I will see you next week. Don't forget Tent Talks Tunes tomorrow night on Malcolm Tent's Facebook page at 7 p.m. Eastern. Yeah. Take care, everybody. Say bye-bye.